Welcome to the Leading Life Podcast, the place where leadership meets real life. Here is where we talk about leading with intention, living with clarity, and getting better results for the people we serve every single day. If you're ready to grow, you're in the right place. Let's go. Right now on today's episode, 10 simple health tips to help you live longer. You are listening to the Leading Life Podcast, where we talk about what it takes to grow, lead, and live with intention. Hi, I am your host, Andy Zook, and each episode is designed to give you simple, real-world tools to help you show up as your best self at work, at home, and in your life. I call this the Leading Life Podcast because we need to be the leaders of our lives. This is our life. Nobody else has the investment in it like we do. So this podcast is about leading our own lives, making intentional choices, and striving for that fulfilling life that we all deserve. Today's episode matters because we're going to talk about longevity, as it's not extreme diets, miracle supplements, or doing everything perfectly. It's more about simple, repeatable habits done consistently. And I will share things with you that have worked for me. I don't do a chat GTP podcast. I strive to share what I've learned with you in the most honest way, and often through the experience of myself learning lessons the hard way. So please allow me to save you time and headaches that I went through. You've heard health is wealth, right? We've all heard that ad nauseum, but it's actually true, because how we take care of ourselves is everything. And we all want to be successful in wealth, in our careers, and in love. But without health, those other three things don't really matter, do they? Dying at 40 years old, a multimillionaire, kind of sucks, right? Or retiring at 65 and then dropping dead on the golf course within 6 months is not the way any of us want to go out either. And so before we jump in, I want to make sure I cite several studies to where I confirmed a lot of these proven habits and got more information. Number one is the Blue Zones Project, which was started in 2004 by Dan Buettner. It's still going on. He studies 9 communities around the world where they have the longest living populations. Also, I cite Harvard's Healthy Lifestyle Study, where researchers followed over 120,000 people for 34 years. There's also a multi-site clinical trial by the National Institute on Aging that demonstrates moderate calorie restriction can make a huge difference. And so we also use that in here. Also, the U.S. Veterans Study in 2023, which was a study of over 700,000 U.S. veterans, that found that adopting 8 healthy habits by age 40 was associated with living an average of 21 to 24 years longer. And then lastly, the Seventh-day Adventist Health Studies. Research on residents of Loma Linda, California found that those church members lived about a decade longer than their neighborhoods. And primarily, a lot of that was their vegetarian diets, strong social, religious ties. So let's get into it. Let's break this down into 10 simple health tips that will help you live longer, and just as important, live better. That's what we ultimately want. Number one, walk every day. And don't even think about it. If exercise had a king, walking would wear the crown. Daily walking improves your heart health. It lowers blood sugar. It supports brain function, and it reduces your stress. I mean, we should just stop right there, right? You don't need any fancy gear. You don't need to crush miles. Just walk 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, a loop around the block. A study of 100,000 adults found that those exercising 150 to 300 minutes per week had a 21% lower risk of death from all causes. And a 2025 review in the Lancet Public Health Journal involving 1,600 people found that walking 7,000 steps per day reduces the risk of dying from any cause by 47% compared to just walking 2,000 steps. Walking roughly 21 minutes a day can reduce your risk of a heart attack by 30%. That's incredible. For older adults, taking 4,500 steps daily is linked to a 77% lower risk of a major cardiovascular event compared to taking lower amounts of steps. Brisk walking for 21 minutes or more is associated with a 29% lower risk of hypertension. Research indicates that the odds for depression as daily steps rise, meaning those that are hitting 7,000 steps or more, have a 31% lower risk than those walking 5,000 steps or fewer. And then there's another 1-year study of adults aged 55 and older that showed that walking 40 minutes 3 times a week actually increased the size of their hippocampus. That's the brain's memory center. It increased it by 2%. Yeah. So a short 2 to 5 minute walk after meals can significantly moderate blood sugar levels and prevent spikes, helping to manage or prevent type 2 diabetes. Also, people who walk at least 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, have 43% fewer sick days than those who exercise once a week or less. So, also keep in mind that motion is lotion. Yeah, that sounds kind of weird. But walking encourages the production of synovial fluid to lubricate joints, and that can strengthen cartilage and reduce arthritis pain. Please remember, longevity loves consistency more than intensity. So now that you've got your steps in, I think we've made the case for walking. Let's talk why lifting weights should be your next move. Number 2, strength train to stay independent. Yeah, here's a truth we don't talk about. Muscle isn't about looks. I mean, it is a little bit, but it's more about freedom. Because as we age, muscle protects us from falls, injuries, and loss of independence. Even slight resistant training 2 to 3 times a week can dramatically improve longevity. So regular resistance training, hitting the gym, hitting the weights can help prevent natural muscle loss that begins after 30. So start lifting weight because that puts healthy stress on your bones, signaling your cells to build denser, stronger bone tissue and protect against osteoporosis. Muscle tissue is more metabolically active than fat, meaning you burn more calories even at rest. And it can lower your blood pressure and bad cholesterol, reducing that risk of heart disease and stroke. Strengthening muscles helps your body store and use glucose more effectively. And that's another case to help you lower your type 2 diabetes. So engaging in muscle strength activities just 30 to 60 minutes per week is linked to a 10 to 17% lower risk of premature death from all causes. And amazingly, studies show that regular lifting can improve memory, protect against cognitive decline as you age. I can also verify this strongly. Exercise triggers the release of endorphins, which can significantly reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. It can also improve your balance and coordination because strength training reduces the likelihood of falls, especially as we age. Lastly, it reduces chronic pain. Performed properly, strength training can help alleviate joint stiffness and chronic pain, particularly for those with arthritis and back issues. All right, so I will tell you that I have been lifting weights consistently for about 13, 14 years. I mean, I lifted before in my youth, but never really consistently, maybe just like a couple days a week if. So at 43, I knew I needed to make a change. I had gained a lot of weight at our home office, and our home office actually had a gym. So I started to go. And I didn't even know what I was doing, but I watched some YouTube videos, I talked to people, and yes, it's paid off. I feel so much better since, and some people say I look 5 to 10 years younger. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to appear more youthful and full of vitality, start strength training. We've talked about all the health benefits, but the physical appearance benefits are huge. And I just want to give you a warning shot over the bow. Don't go in all Schwarzenegger mode, overkill, and hurt yourself. I see a lot of dudes my age or older that go in, they want to start working out, and they go at it hardcore, and they maybe get one day and they're sore for 3 or 4. Then they go back and do another day, and they try the same thing again. And then they're like, I don't know, man, this is too much, and they give up. So just go in and do moderate to light weight training daily. That will far exceed heavy lifting 3 times a week with possible injury. Listen, strong people just age better, period. So now that you're strengthening your body, let's work now on strengthening your mind. And that's number 3, sleep is not optional, but it's a superpower. So you cannot out-supplement bad sleep. Sleep affects hormones, immunity, brain health, weight regulation, and emotional stability. Now, I know it's not easy for everybody, but most adults really should get 7 to 8 quality hours. Protect your sleep like you protect your wallet because it compounds just as powerfully. So a couple things that may help. If you struggle to stay asleep at night, skip the daytime nap. This ensures your hunger for sleep is peak when you go to bed. I will tell you that I'm weird because I can take a late afternoon nap for like 20 minutes to a half an hour and still fall asleep at night by 9:30, 10 o'clock. Most people can't, But if you can avoid naps, I would. And then use the 3-2-1 rule. Stop eating 3 hours before bed, stop working 2 hours before, and stop looking at screens 1 hour before. Make sure you get daily movement like we talked about. Even 20 minutes of physical activity during the day will help deepen your slow wave. And your room should be cool, dark, and quiet. If you can get your room down to like 70, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, it will be ideal for deep sleep. And then a lot of people, including myself, like some white noise or a fan in the background to help drown out the noise. Dogs barking, sirens in the background, whatever, that can yank you out of a sleep cycle. And then another one is to cut the caffeine. So caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours. So if you have a cup at 4, half of your brain is still like going crazy till 10 o'clock. So I have a rule that no more coffee after 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And then also watch the alcohol. Get a sedative that helps you fall asleep if you need it, but alcohol destroys sleep quality by causing micro awakenings once it wears off a few hours later. I will tell you, just going through this dry January 2026, I sleep like a champ without alcohol. And it's made me really rethink how much I consume and why do I consume it at all, because my nights are just beautiful. Like I sleep all the way through. And I could literally go to bed even earlier and sleep in if I wanted to because I'm just out cold. And the alcohol just affects me in a way that I sleep so much more with restlessness. So then also, lastly, set a consistent wake-up time. So if you sleep poorly, get up at the same time every day. This anchors your circadian rhythm so your body knows exactly when to start producing melatonin the following evening. And then lastly, get sunlight. Yeah. They all tell you wear your sunglasses, all day outside. Yes, I would say majority of the day, but in the morning, not looking directly at the sun, just get 10 to 15 minutes of natural light in your eyes shortly after waking up. That'll also help you set your internal timer. All right, so we talked about sleep. Let's get to number 4, eat real food most of the time. Yeah, longevity diets across the world have one thing in common. They're boring in the best way. So get more whole foods, fruits, vegetables, protein, healthy fats. Make sure you get lentils, black beans, chickpeas, and fava beans. They are some of the best longevity food worldwide. Get more vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, kale. That will help protect your cells and reduce inflammation. Spinach and collard greens are packed with vitamins for brain health. Also, try to work in, I know I need to, brown rice, quinoa, and oats. They will give you sustained energy and fiber for gut health. Also, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries are high in antioxidants and combat oxidative stress. A handful of nuts every once in a while, almonds, flax seeds can help give you healthy fats for a healthy heart. And then best thing of all is fish, wild-caught salmon, sardines, and mackerel are rich in omega-3s for heart and brain function. Don't forget avocados. They provide monounsaturated fats and potassium to manage blood pressure. You don't need perfection with your diet. You just need maybe a fewer ingredients, fewer packages, and a fewer late night what just happened snacks. Like, get stuff out of your house that you can't manage. I cannot handle potato chips. I will eat the whole bag. I'll probably eat 2 bags. I'll sit in front of the TV or I'll be looking at stuff online and I'll just eat and eat and eat. So I had to get rid of snacks because it just kills me. It just derails my diet in such a bad way, and it's so bad for you. So if I get a little bit of a hunger later in the evening, I try to switch to fruit, grapes, raspberries, blueberries, something healthy for me. So just try to adapt your diet a little bit and watch how much better you feel. All right, number 5, let's talk about stress because we need to manage it better. I have gone through all kinds of a journey myself on that. We need to manage it before it manages us because chronic stress really ages you faster than almost anything else. I mean, I know you've seen people that might be half your age that look older than you do. And I think a lot of it is how we take our stress. So when you're constantly stressed out, your body stays in fight or flight. And that floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. And over time, that wears down your heart by increasing blood pressure and cholesterol. This weakens your immune system. You'll get more sick more often, and it'll disrupt your brain by increasing risks for anxiety, depression, and memory loss. High stress can also trigger inflammation, which is a root cause of chronic things like type 2 diabetes, digestive orders, and even accelerated aging. So just practicing breathing, going walking, a little more silence, a little bit less cell phone, iPad time, prayer, meditation. And what about laughter? Laughter is one of the best things against stress. Stress management isn't soft, it's survival. Honestly, most people stress from their jobs or their career. So to lower work stress, you have to manage your body's physical response and set boundaries for your brain. And here are the most effective ways to decompress according to the Mayo Clinic and the American Psychological Association. Every 90 minutes, step away for 5 minutes. All right? Take a break. Every 90 minutes, movement or even just looking out a window can help reset your focus, especially for those of you who are listening to me and you're working from home. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold it for 4. Exhale for 4. And then hold for 4 again. This physically signals your nervous system to calm down. Stress also makes us slouch, which restricts breathing. Sitting upright reduces your cortisol levels. Create a shutdown routine to tell your brain the workday is officially over. Avoid checking work emails after a certain hour. Constant connectivity will keep your stress hormones elevated. So focus your energy only on tasks that you can influence today. High stress comes from worrying about future outcomes you can't change. I am a big proponent against worrying. Do I worry? Yes. How much? Very little. Do you know why? Because I have come to accept I can't change anything by worrying. What I can do, though, is be as proactive as I can be with my life and predict in my mind how the future could go. So what can I do physically with actionable steps today that would prevent that? But just worrying about, am I going to get hit by a bus tomorrow? No, that doesn't come in my mind. 85% of the stuff that we worry about in our heads never happens. Focus your energy on tasks you can influence today. That'll really help reduce your stress. All right, number 6, stay social. This is easy, right? Yes and no, because isolation now, where we are in the world with our technology, isolation is a health risk. Loneliness is now considered as dangerous as smoking. Strong relationships lower depression. They improve our immune function and literally extend life expectancy. Call people. Get in touch with your friends. Show up for events. Eat meals together. Reach out to family and friends you already know. Suggest a walk in the park or a coffee chat to just deepen these connections. Consistency is key. Set aside specific times each day or each week to call, text, or video chat with people you trust. Use social media to reconnect with former classmates or colleagues. Sharing a memory can be an easy way to start a conversation. When Facebook first came out, my wife actually set up my account for me and she goes, okay, here it is. And I'm like, what's this? What's this thing? This is whatever, 20 something years ago almost. And she's like, well, it's called Facebook. And I want you to go look for your classmates from private school that you talk about all the time. I want you to find them and I want you to connect with them. And guess what? That group of people, we have all gotten closer and closer over the years. These are my brothers for life. We went to private Catholic school together. And I will tell you, when I connect and talk with them, it is probably one of the best parts of my day. And I feel so understood because we grew up together. We went through similar things together. We can communicate and understand each other almost in another language. So make sure you stay in touch with the people you grew up with. That's also one of the world's biggest regrets is people on their deathbed will say, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Some other things you can do is join internet-based groups like platforms like Meetup, find local clubs or hobbies, book clubs, hiking groups. There's a men's walking group in Orlando that I've been thinking about joining. That kind of stuff is great. Do some volunteering. Helping others through charities, animal shelters, or community gardens can provide a sense of purpose and introduce you to like-minded people. Take a class. Enrolling in a course at community college or a local center, art, dance, new languages creates natural opportunities for social interaction. All right, I'm actually going to tell you to talk to strangers. But yes, practice small, low-pressure interactions. Saying hello to a neighbor, chatting briefly with a barista can help you feel more socially connected. When we talked about Tools for Titans in one episode, I can't remember who it was, but someone in there was talking about being the first to engage. So when you meet somebody or you see somebody coming toward you in a work environment, be the first one to engage. Start the conversation. Start the connection. Because connection ultimately is medicine. All right, number 7, keep your mind curious and challenged. Yeah, I think this is important because your brain loves novelty. So learning new skills, reading, traveling, conversations, and creativity protect your cognitive health, and they delay the decline. So you don't really ever age out of curiosity. You age because you abandon it. We just lost my father last December, which has been really tough. But I will tell you that my father was always, even at 90, in a state of learning and curiosity. And my sister was telling me they had gone through his computer and found all these different subjects that he was constantly studying and doing research on and writing about. So don't age out of curiosity. Like I said, there's so much in the world to learn. It's like I always say, there's 5% of life we know, another 5% we don't know, and then there's a 90% we don't know. Listen, routines can be dull and hurt our curiosity. So stir brain activity by taking a different route to work. Try a new recipe. Browse a bookstore section you usually ignore. Challenge yourself with activities you have no experience in, such as playing a new instrument, learning a language, learning to cook a meal that you've never done before. Being bad at something actually helps you practice becoming a student again. And then engage in deep play, activities like Sudoku or crossword puzzles or building complex project. Force the brain to use logic and visuospatial skills. And then when you're traveling, every detail is a wonder. Try to apply this to your daily life by noticing the textures and shapes and history of common objects as if you were seeing them for the first time. I remember telling this story on social media, and I'm sure some of my friends thought I was crazy, but I was literally walking home from our grocery store. It's within walking distance, and I'm like, whenever I can avoid taking my car, let me go walk. And there was a bunch of construction guys working on the sidewalk. They were ripping it up and replacing the sidewalk, and they had a cement truck and all this stuff. And I just watched them for 15 minutes. I stopped my walk and I just stood there wow, this is so cool. And I'm sure everybody thought I was nuts, but it kind of is. I've never really just watched someone lay concrete and build a new sidewalk before. And sometimes simple things like that really keep a notebook or digital list of random questions or interest things you notice throughout the day, and then revisit it weekly to see what topics you might want to explore further. Here's a good one that I also think about is if I'm in a waiting room or I'm in a long commute. There are times, I would say 90%, where I put my phone away. I turn the stereo off in the car, which is next to impossible. But I do, because I just want to use this time to maybe see what's around me, view other people in the waiting room, or if I'm in the car, let me just think for a minute about my day and how I want it to go, and not let the narrative be forced by my phone or what's on the radio. Connect with different people that have different backgrounds and different talents and expertise. Ask them to tell me about a subject that can lead to unexpected insights that a Google search would never get. All right, let's move on. Make sure you get out there and be social. That is connected to almost every blue zone that Dan Buettner talks about in his book, because social engagement is so healthy for us. All right, number 8, don't drink too much and be honest with yourself about it. Alcohol isn't neutral. Excess drinking increases cancer risks, heart strain, sleep disruption, and inflammation. Moderation matters here, and so for many people, less is really more. I know this isn't a popular topic, but it's an important one. Hear these words. Alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen. Let me say that again. Alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen. It significantly increases the risk of at least 7 types of cancer, including breast cancer, liver, colorectal, mouth cancer, throat, and esophageal. Chronic use can lead to fatty liver syndrome, alcoholic hepatitis, and irreversible scarring of your liver known as cirrhosis. Long-term drinking is linked to high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and arrhythmias. Alcohol can also cause brain shrinkage, memory loss, and dementia. It also exacerbates mental health conditions like depression and anxiety. Heavy use will weaken our immune response, making the body more susceptible to infections. It can also cause gastritis. That's the inflammation of your stomach lining, ulcers, and pancreatitis, a painful inflammation of the pancreas. Remember, longevity rewards honesty, not denial. So take a second here and really think about how much you drink. You know, I'll be brutally honest with you. I love to have a drink, and I probably like it more than I should. And so I have to be very real with myself about that and how much I consume. You know, a lot of us grow up in a drinking culture, and that doesn't make it right. You know, from growing up the way I did and what I saw around me in my life, going through high school, hanging out with my buddies who went to college, I went to work. Then, honestly, even in my work, there was a pretty heavy drinking culture. And so I just accepted it as like, oh, this is the way it goes, right? I met people that had a healthier view of how much alcohol should be in their life. And I started to see how much it was promoted around me and how regular it had just sort of become. So I want you to really dig into that a little bit. There's nothing wrong with having a drink once in a while. But if it's every day or if it's several times a week and you need it to feel better, you might want to really check yourself on that. Really dig into, is it worth it? Because the health risk with it is just too big to pay a price. And I think a lot of the world, not just America, has a really unhealthy relationship with alcohol. It's promoted constantly around us, right? So that's my little piece on that. I'm not trying to preach. Like I said, I love to have a drink, but remember, it's not neutral, the effects of alcohol. Okay, I beat that into the ground. Let's move on to 9. Number 9, get sunlight and move outdoors. So natural light regulates that circadian rhythm, right? So it enhances our mood, our hormones, and our sleep quality. And even just like we talked about, 10 to 15 minutes of daylight exposure, especially in the morning, will have positive effects on you. So morning sunlight is a natural power up for your body. And here's why it helps. You're going to get better sleep. It resets your internal clock. It also boosts serotonin, and that's the hormone that helps you feel calm and focused. Also, your natural energy is going to be increased because the signals to your brain are to wake up and feel alert without just drinking coffee or caffeine drinks. And then your body is going to build strong bones with the vitamin D. The body remembers what nature feels like. Just getting 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight every day can make a big difference. All right, here we are, final stretch, number 10. I want you to think long-term about your health and act daily. Longevity isn't built in a year, it's built in today. Small choices, repeated daily, will stack the odds in your favor. To think long-term about your health through daily choices, treat your body like a high-growth investment than a daily expense. Think about compound interesting. Small boring habits like 20 minutes of walking, a half hour's strength training will accumulate over decades. One workout does nothing, but 1,000 workouts prevent chronic disease. Ask yourself, will this version of me in 10 years thank me for what I'm about to do right now? If the answer is yes, do it. Focus on prevention. I want you to think about it's cheaper and easier to maintain health now than to fix a broken body later. Right? That's pretty obvious. So prioritize your sleep quality and your sunlight exposure. Get in your steps, get in your strength training, and eat better. A 10-minute daily walk will beat a 3-hour gym session once a month. Sustainability is the only way to reach old age with mobility. Health isn't about fear of death. It's about respect for life. So don't go on a diet, but become a person who nourishes their body. Long-term health is an identity, not a goal. What I wanted to add to this was that a podcaster that I love to listen to has a great saying, life can be hard now and easy later, or life can be easy now and hard later. So I'm sure you agree. Make it hard now. So when you get into your later years, it's easier. I will tell you that just putting more focus on my health, getting into the gym, walking every day, little bit of skincare routine, taking better care of myself. If someone sees a picture of me from 15 years ago, they say I look older in that photo than I do now. So if that will motivate you, for me, being youthful and looking youthful, honestly, it probably, I'll be honest, I mean, it appeals a little bit to my vanity. I don't want to look older than I need to. I don't think anybody wants to. So keep that in mind. that just doing some of these simple things not only is going to make a difference for you internally, but it will externally. Okay, so this is your leadership edge for the episode. If you want to lead others well, you got to stay well first. Energy is leadership currency. Presence is a leadership currency. And longevity will allow you to keep serving, mentoring, loving, contributing longer. Also, when you look good, you signal that you have it together. Taking care of your health isn't selfish. It's responsible leadership. And this is your call to arms. I'm not going to ask you to pick all 10 of these habits, not 5, just 1. Take one of these away today. I would say the walking would be one of the best. And if you are in a cold climate, middle of winter, I get it. Get to a gym, get to a treadmill, get to a Stairmaster. Stack that habit, protect it, and repeat it. And remember, you don't need to be extreme to live an extraordinary life. Remember, you're not just leading your life, you're leading your health. And that's one of the most important parts of leadership. That's what this podcast is all about. And that's my episode. So I hope it impacted you for the better. And if it did, please leave me a rating or review. And please hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode of the Leading Life podcast. And if this episode inspired you, share it with somebody else who needs to hear it. Remember, the world gets better when we lead our lives better. Until next time, I want you to lead with purpose, live with intention, and keep becoming who you were meant to be. But most importantly, you've heard me say this before, but it's true. Go out and be the hero of somebody's story today. I'm Andy Zook. Thanks for listening. This is the Leading Life Podcast. Take care. Stay healthy. Bye.